Good day. Today we're going to talk about how to form the simple present tense in affirmative and in negative form. The simple present tense is to describe an action in two different ways. We can describe an action when it is happening right now or when it happens regularly. How do we form the simple present tense? To form the simple present tense, we usually just use the verb in its normal formal way. So for example, we use work, we use play, we use study. Then for the third person, we would add an S or we would add an ES depending on how the verb ends. Let's see this first example when we use the verb work. So in first person, we would say I work. Second person, you work. Third person male, he works. Third person female, she works. Third thing, it works. And then in the plural form, for first person, we work. Second person, you work. Third person and thing, they work. So as you can see, we only add an S for the third person if it's male, female, or thing. So we don't say he work. That doesn't sound right, and it's not the correct grammar form to use the verb in simple present tense. We have to add an S and we say he works, she works, it works. Okay, so we add an S for the third person, or we add an ES depending on how the verb ends. So when do we use ES? We use ES when the verb ends in O, CH, SH, TH, SS, GH, X, or C. When the verb ends in these different consonants or vowels, we add ES. So let's see our examples. If we have the verb go, we say goes. We add ES. We just don't add an S and say goes, G-O-S. For teach, we add ES as well. Teaches. For splash, we use splashes. We add an ES. For fix, it ends in X, so we have to add an ES, and the correct pronunciation is fixes. And the last one here is kiss, and the correct form, we add an ES, and it would say kisses. So let's see more examples of different verbs and how we would use it in simple present tense. The first form that you see in the second column is used for all the persons except the third person. And the second verb that we see in our second column is how we would use it with the third person. So let's start with the first one. The verb come. In simple present tense, we use come, the regular verb, and comes for third person. Then we have do. Do and does for third person. We have drink. Drink, I drink, she drink, and she drinks. Eat. We use eat and eats. Like and likes. Live and lives for third person. Speak, we use speak and speaks for third person. Teach, we add an ES because it ends in CH, and we use teaches for the third person. Go, it ends in O, so we add ES for the third person, goes. Use. we add an S, and we use uses for the third person. And the last one, we have answer. We use answer for all the persons except for the third person, where we would use answers. All of the examples we've seen so far are how to use the simple present tense in an affirmative form. So when we have to say something is happening, we would say, for example, I study, I teach, or she fixes, and we would use that as an affirmative form. Now, let's see how we use the simple present tense in a negative form. For the negative form, we have the following formula. So I know it's English, but even though in English we also use formulas to talk about different rules, grammar rules we use in the English language. So for the negative form, the formula is do or does, we use does for the third person, plus not, that it would be the negative, plus the verb. The verb, we would use it in the form, in its regular form. So let's see this first example with the verb study. So for the first person in negative form, I would say I do not study. If you see here, I use the three parts of our formula. I use do because I'm using I use not because I'm saying that it's not happening, and then I use the verb in its regular form, in its basic form, which would be study. In the second person, the same. I would use you do not study. In the third person male, I would say he does not study. Since it is the third person, as we saw in the affirmative form, for the third person we have to use it with an S or an ES. In this case we're using do, so for the third person we would use does. So he does not study. For the female we would use in the third person she does not study. And then for the plural forms in the simple present tense negative, I would say for the first person, we do not study. In the second person, you do not study. And in the third person and thing, they do not study. So we saw the simple present tense affirmative and negative form. The affirmative, we add an S or an ES depending on the ending of the verb. And for the negative form, we use the formula do, does, plus not, plus the verb.